Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live or listening to replay. We always appreciate everyone that tunes in live or listens in the replay. So you're listening to the vault, episode 223. Church is business, no. SMH, charity is business. And so this is a very critical episode. We've gotten this question for years at the Vault, so we're going to address it, which is charity. Is it a business? No, clearly it's not. And, that's a religion. That's a place of non, payment. People, they accept church, and we're not talking about church with ties. We're talking about is it to be carried as a business, which, it has a little bit more empathy. It's not looking to go bankrupt. The church is just to sustain the community, not to be bankrupt in the community. So, no, we're definitely going to address that it's not a business. It's not to bankrupt the community. It's not, any type of institution that's going to take money from people in a negative way. So we know that we just want to address that it's not a business, and we're very clear about that in our message. That it's just how we look at it at the Vault. Some people may say, oh, it's there to generate money, and then some people, we're not going to go into that part of the conversation tonight. Tonight, we're going to go into, or today, wherever you are in the world, we just want to go in and say from episode 222, church is business. No, charity is a business. Charity is just that. We know that there are quite a few people that have charities and they're looked at as a business. Where a church, even though it's a charity, is not necessarily always conducted in business form and things of that nature. We're not going to be talking about much of it from the church perspective tonight. We're going to be talking about it from the charitable perspective tonight or today, wherever you are in the world, because charity is business. And when people understand or see that charity is business, we can say, okay, this is how we move forward. Business is done with teams. These are things that are elementary principles inside of the business. Whereas the church, that's a different type of order. They're different orders and they look different. They're not all the same, but they do have the same designation, 501c3. And then we go over to the charitable side, which is the business. It's the same exact thing. So what is the difference? It's, are you properly classified? Are you talking to the right people? That's what it means. Because it's supposed to build teams. That's what these environments do. Specifically in business. Business says the more you service people, the more money you make. So let's move into the charity as business, because this is where it comes down to where people's families can be pillars in the community for roads, highways, whole subdivisions. This is where charity holds. We got an idea from a trustee earlier today. He said, man, I want to do a co-op with children, with people that go to college. It's like, oh no, did he say that? And he said that it's just like, wow, that's the different mentality that trustees have, is they're going to make sure that they can go get multi-unit dwellings, and they're thinking where those are things that are beneficial to a college. So they're saying I need to get a multi-dwelling unit near a college. Like this is not about age. So let's go ahead and get rid of that myth for the general audience. The 88 percenters, is that what we want to call them? See, the 20% knows about the 80%. The 80% almost lacks in knowing about the 20%. And then we know inside of the 80-20 rule that there's subdivisions of that. Wow. The statistics, they say, don't lie for temporary periods. We can beat the odds. Greetings to LA. Greetings from the Midwest. Church is business, no. We're going to stay away from that once again. For all the new listeners, we're going to stay away from what people would say, how is church not a business? We're going to stay away from that conversation. We'll give us that air tonight and we're today. And we're going to move forward with shaking my head. Charity is a business. Let's go right back to your family, all putting inside of the family community chest, which is a private charitable entity. Why wouldn't it be? That's how you get the land reserved for your tombstone. because the church is able to pay for it. Because your family has the capital to give to the church to say, we want a plot of land on this burial ground. Most people, we're not going to go there tonight either. We're going to stay really clear about it being church's business. No, shaking my head, charity is business. Let's go right back to the charity that you really have in your heart, especially Americans. Americans are some of the most giving people in the world. They are like all these charities that are popping up, and it's like, why wouldn't they? The country was supposedly started out in charity. Why would the elite put themselves in a position where they can't perpetuate their family's name? There are family names that came over to the United States. And so, for that reason, names have been perpetuated. And so, we get into we get into a manhood or a womanhood conversation tonight when it comes to where is your heart when it comes to charity? Because if you want to do it, just do it in the right entity. That's what we would suggest. And you can talk to your lawyers and your accountants and see what they say. But they're not going to all answer the same way. Right. So that's the difference between a public and a private education. So charity is a business. Why? Because you can live out your dreams. So the dreams are the things that don't die. They're the investments. They're the passive income. Those investments. Charity is a business. This is where you make money giving it away. Why not? It's not yours anyways. See, this is the class that many people hang up on. What do you mean? These are basic fundamental 101s that if you come to any of our mentors, whether it's through the vault or traditionally even in the private, they're going to let you know it's not about just what you know. It's about what you do. It's about what you do with the information. We say we're living in the information age, but how many are studying showing themselves approved? That's where we are nowadays. Of course, charity is a business. Why wouldn't it be? Your skills and gifts were given to you for free. And now time has been accounted for. And our time is worth something, right? What we call ours, we quantify in hours, minutes, seconds. Right. It's business as usual. We already know that. The people that relate to me, the people that relate with the vault, you all know what you're relating to. It's the truth. See, they say the truth going to set you free. But when the truth sets you free, are you going to stay free or are you going to think that it's going to be free? Because freedom isn't free. That's what the mentors told us. And it took a good months, who knows, maybe a year to say, man, this is really real. You got to, it wasn't say fight for your freedom, but you got to stand for something. But hey, some people say, oh, it sounded like he got a little loud. It sounded like it was a little uprising. But at the end of the day, what happens when you work out? Does your heartbeat raise? How does business get done? You have to move. Things have to get done on a daily basis. It's business as usual, ladies and gentlemen. Charity is a business. And that's the bottom line. How is it business? Because it's your passion. People say, oh, follow your passion. Right. There are some people, okay, how come the NFL owners and the NBA owners are their passion is being executed right now? They're the same exact way. Their passion. I had a passion to own that team. Really? They're charities. They don't own the stadiums. They just collect seat money. Oh, do they really collect seat money? Who collects seat money? The stadium or the team? Because the team doesn't own the stadium. Oh. This is the first thing we heard in trustee training. When we sat there and the mentors say, yep, these organizations, they get free land in the city to create a league. Really? What happened to African indigenous descent creating their leagues? Right. See, we're talking about those right now. They're the ones that identify once again with the vault. You understand that that's what it's about. It's about taking total control over your environment. That's a message for the men and the women. That's where we're at. They say Wow. You think about the generation, they say the Aquarian age, I guess it's not in the fire age, because in the fire age, things got burnt, you know. So we're going to make sure, that you have to have a passion. It's in your belly to see something happen. And not just see it happen, but actually make it happen. Charity is definitely a business. Everywhere they go, when we say they, we can say colonization. See? Do people know the proper terms? If you're well read, colonization has done what? Created people that are they well read? Well, last time we checked, United States, for all the plushness of the well-rounded houses and the air efficient houses and the houses that the housing market has boomed for years. Yeah, and there what's the literacy rate of the country, ladies and gentlemen? No, the statistics of the states itself. What do they say? They don't say they're number one. They don't say they're number five. Ladies and gentlemen, when they talk about the Human Development Index, have you all heard of the Human Development Index? Charity is set up for the human what is that? The human the Human Development Index because it sees the quality of life you have. Well, let's look at the quality of life across the United States. What's the quality of life in California? High prices for houses. That's California. Let's go to New York. High housing prices. Where else are we going? Are we going to Texas? Texas has no income tax state. You all can check that out. And then when you go there, it's so big, everybody has a pickup truck. Inside joke for everybody that's in Texas. Wow. Let's go to Chicago. Wow, we're not going there. We're skipping over them. Let's go to Detroit. Oh, wow, we're not. And what's crazy is Chicago it's like one of those you find oil in Ohio. Like what? How do you find oil here? Like who made it a point to come out and seismograph the land to see if there's oil here? You were. You heard there was oil in Ohio. So, charity is a business. What are you going to Ohio for? Because we're going to employ some people. So we're going to need some money. Had a trustee actually come to us. This is what happens when you're in trusteeship. You get other trustees to give you information. And that's the best part is because they're studying too. They take their family seriously. That's the best part about that. They were giving PPP money to private foundations. I was like, oh, he's like, you're just looking into that. I was like, okay, that's good to know. You get to see, wow, okay, people are paying attention out here. And it's so good to see people that are putting in the work for the study of, hey, they're giving out money. And it's crazy because when I went to go look and I looked at this one that was about some writing, it was like, man, these foundations are really giving to each other. And that's when you see, of course they are. Your family mission can be carried on outside of you. Of course, this is a message for the high achievers, the ones that are going to listen and say, I go play it back maybe twice. Why? Because maybe it's something you do. Haven't really ever said most people should go back and do it, but why not? Why? It's only going to edify your learning because repetition, the mother of learning is repetition. If you go to school to learn your multiplication tables, you got to remember them all. That's what it's called, repetition. So how can people have bad memories? See, that's a negative program. See, that's an easy program for people that someone wants to lose right away. See, we're controlled and snared by the words of our tongue. So how is it that we're not accountable for those words? We are. So we're not snaring ourselves saying things that we so-called can't do or try to do. We either do or we don't do. Bottom line. It's business. It's not personal. The family's last name is important. So, church is a business? H, no. Shaking my head. Charity is a business, though. Why is charity a business? Because contracts sometimes can be written. First, they have to be written with an offer. So that sometimes doesn't mean you have to take a profit off the top. You don't have to take a profit. You can be a trustee, though. Think about it. Money was created out of thin air, whether it was paper, whether it was coin. Somebody said we got to use this now for a medium of exchange. Who came up with that clever idea? Charity is a business. That's who came up with that clever idea. It's always going to be the clever that come up with good ideas. Some people, think about the story or the parable of the seed that goes into the ground, where it lands on the rocky ground. It doesn't even go in the ground. Somebody's mind might be hard-headed. And then you got the next one where it goes in the ground, but the weeds got it. Who's the weeds? Your friends, your family, your foes, the outside world, everybody outside of you, blaming outside of yourself. And then we get back to the last one, yourself. Oh, yeah. So it's full responsibility. And that's the difference in the message nowadays. You made all these decisions up until this point. The faster we grasp self-responsibility, the faster you grasp control of your body. So many people want to make this hard, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Think about it. You got a $2 billion operation operating in front of you with the NFL and the NBA. So what difference does it make? You think they're going to change their status for you? No, and you're paying to go to the game. The owners are sitting back. All they did was put in the paperwork properly. They got the loans. Who they get the loans from? Citibank. They got it from the banks. They got it from the Verizon. They got a sponsorship. You can do it too. Or can you do it? Oh man, it's really just that simple. See, this is for the ones that want to claim the $1 billion contracts on their name. Right. What do you think they're doing? They're perpetuating their last name. Recently, we heard a story from some of the OGs. They said, oh man, the people for the Detroit Lions, the mom died at like 94, and then the second in command now, who took to first command, she was 71, and it was the daughter. $1 billion operation, operating right in front of you. It doesn't leave family hands. This is Our Lady Perpetual Wealth. Bottom line. And that's all the time. Why? Because you can build something in perpetuity now. What does that mean? Forever. Why do you think you know about Amshire Rothschild? Why do you think you know about these names? Why do you know about Rockefeller? Why do you know about the Kennedys? Some people's names can just go. But some people's names you're going to see on the side of a spaceship. See? Some people are going to have their names on the SSR that gets off because they contributed to technology and sciences. Some families are going to contribute to biotechnology. Some people are going to, create these different type of sustainable operations. They're going to build mechanisms now. But remember, anytime you ask, you have to be prepared to receive. And it's about the manner in which you receive. Do you receive it in ownership or do you receive it in title? And what's so interesting is it's like if you're your brother's keeper, just like the people that contact the vault and try to do the susu recently, guess what you do? You be in trust with your brother because that means you trust him. But how many people are in trust together? That's where we are. We know the environment over here, ladies and gentlemen. We have to protect fidelity. Why? Because it's families involved. You have children in the room. That's the bottom line. It's no need to have those type of affairs over here. You keep it clean. You keep it honest. Everybody has other things that they're dealing with. But the environment is focused on protecting the family first. And so it requires the highest level of pushing and stamina right now for sure. For all the ones that are going to make the move today when they listen to the vault, they're trustees. We have many trustees. So proud of the new trustees that have come along because it's good on the private side to keep hearing people say what they really come for. They come for the family. They come for the protection. They come not to be, here's an example where people's family property, it could be a church, and those things get taken away. Why? Because they didn't pay property tax. How is a church? Because some people didn't put it in right position the proper way. But we don't see a lot of churches do that. We see a lot of charities do that because they're not in the proper position. Charities can get bought out. There's nothing wrong with that. Peace, Mississippi. Thank you for tuning in live. Yes. Any questions? Feel free to type into the chat. Charity is a business. A lot of people, you guys probably gonna have some really wild ideas about what charity is to yourself, and how how that could be a business. And what you'll be so surprised is that that's what it comes down to. It comes down to your what are your interests, what are your passions, and then just actually plugging away every day, making it turn over a profit. So many people don't turn over profits because they're not thinking about turning over a profit. In business, you have to think about turning over a profit. We always appreciate everybody that is making it a point to turn over profit. That's where you get the separator from everything that we see in between. In the vault, we have to continuously see it. I think people see that more in your work ethic than they see in your bank account. It's not like somebody knows your bank account, but they definitely like see your work ethic. Like that is something that people see. People hear your attitude every time you call them or every time they call you, and they're like, "Oh man, this dude is like upbeat. Like man, he's going in. He's fired up." Or same thing for a lady. If she's fired up, she's going in. It's like she has that demeanor. Like she's not acting like she's taking any handouts. She's not taking the acceptance position all the time. She's actually making offers. And so that's where you see a position of control when you're making offers. And so, is it a vulnerable position? Of course, it's a vulnerable position, but that's just business and life in general. And so, it's sort of like, are you shying away from the mistakes? So many people shy away from things, but this isn't about shying away from mistakes. This is about, knowing that you can have multiple charities as a, you know, CEO, founder, grantor, whatever it is, of that situation. That's where you're at, where you are in a position where you are charitable and you know that. And that's a powerful position to be in, ladies and gentlemen. So we welcome any questions that you have live. Feel free to type into the chat. Church is a business. No, shaking my head. Charity is a business. You can't have any profit before you have a nonprofit. That was the issue that people didn't understand. Once accounting and ledgering came into play, where they could balance I wouldn't call it a Rubik's, it's like a Acubus, they call it something like that, where basically it's this thing where they started doing accounting when they did it with beads. And so that's why, it's very important for you to sometimes, even have your beads on you because, you're counting beads too, you know what I mean? You're counting up a position. And so a lot of times people don't know that they're a money manager. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're a business owner, you're an investor, you're a money manager. And so we see so many people fall short of that one overriding principle. It's like people say, well, I'm in management. It's like, well, management, you're managing people. So what do you think a hedge fund is? It's just people managing people. Oh, no, traders managing traders. That's all it is. People have these Six Sigma SaaS systems in place, SaaS systems in place. And these are systems of control and management to see people's work performance in a day to day. What are they doing immediately? And these are in positions where you see a lot of people that are in, banking, fund managing. Sometimes you might see it in insurance. You don't always see it in insurance, but you see it in a lot of project management. And so these are people that are into risk management. They're in risk management, crisis management environments. These are environments that are real. They have 6 to 7 to 8 to 10 to 9, 13 people inside of those environments managing problems for businesses. And so you can see the competitive advantage that a Coca-Cola will have over someone else when they've got hundreds of people that are crisis managing. They're literally responding to emails. They're doing shock testing in markets to see how does a drink respond, how does it not respond. These are sophisticated processes because these companies have built up capital to deploy to these teams of people. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. So are you going to develop that level of what they call quarantine? You could use that term where you have things that are isolated challenges and you're solving them. And so these are already what people call think tanks or people, pretty much people call them think tanks. They're brainstorming. These are things that are going on in charity right now. People in trust work with people in trust. Same thing with charity. People in charity work with people in charity. Don't all the football teams work together? Yeah. And they stick to their rules. Yeah. They're bounded by an association. Yeah. So that means we gotta have an association as African indigenous descent people and put in a fund. That's all we have to do. Yeah, you gotta have honorable trustees though. Who's the trustees of these funds when people are donating to these organizations? So if you voted today, but did you vote with your dollars? We've seen so many people online today. I voted today. Yeah, but did you vote with your dollars? How did you vote with your dollars? Oh, you forgot your dollars are worthless because you're borderline that. See, the dollars are earned if they're earned. Some people didn't earn their dollars though. Many didn't earn their dollars, so they're careless with their dollars. See, they're not money managers. See, dollars are money, and money managing is almost a forgotten art in parts of the world. We won't say everywhere, we'll say parts of the world. And charity is a business. That's money managing. Why wouldn't it be? And so we see a deployment of capital, and this is the challenge. How many people know what capital is? How many people know the financial markets, financial terms? This is a whole education you got to get. It should be less than a 2-year education, which means it's less than 24 months for the average person. Average person means you went to public school, you got a diploma. That's the easiest thing you need. And many people don't even need that. Why? Because Henry Ford didn't have an education, the first Henry Ford. He didn't have a high school education. So that already puts that myth to rest. We can go to many wealthy people that don't have tons of education. So we're not going to use title in this conversation. We're going to utilize intelligence, and intelligence is the card going into the ATM for the family entity or the business entity and making sure business is getting done. It's business before pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, in the private sector. Why? Because you're not working for yourself. You're working for the family. How hard would you not work for the family? How many people want to work for their family? And the family is a charity. Why? Because we're all giving to a fund. That's what we're doing. Why? Why wouldn't we? What community of families is not doing that? But oh no, we didn't know how to do that. We didn't know the proper entity. Okay, now you know. Private foundations, you see those. And then you can go look up the associations that are on the public side, such as the NBA and NFL. These are public associations, the same exact thing. Association. Does your local homeowners association, who's making the money off of that? Who's the arbitrary third party person? Like, how do you just come into a community and say, we're going to charge you to keep it clean? Are you the landowner? I thought people in the subdivision owned the land, even if they really bought it outright. Like, is that true? Right. Homeowners association. Just what it is, an association. And so we're seeing business get done right now at an exponential rate on the private side. We don't want to even lie to you all and tell you guys any longer that, oh, the private side is going to build up. Ladies and gentlemen, the private side has been kicking trillions of dollars every single day, whether you know it or not. It's just whether you're going to put your cup under the fountain of wealth. Bottom line. If you're in the States, it's trillions of dollars. If you're in any type of European developed country, it's booming. If you're in Australia, it's booming. In New Zealand, it's booming. If you're in the South Asian countries, it's booming. People say, what do you mean business is booming? Alibaba is booming. Online business is booming. These countries that are developed have internet, it's booming. Oh no, I can't believe you're saying that. The numbers don't look like they're booming. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an extra boom right now. Some people say, oh, there's going to be a fallback. Okay. We won't call ourselves in the dirt, as some people would say. This is an analogy of not playing it well. The odds are we'll give, like any traditional objective person would say, 50-50. We'll call it heads or tails if we flip a coin. But at the end of the day, the market has gone up for the last 20 years. Y'all want me to say that again? The market's gone up for the past 20 years. It's gone up for the past 10 years. Oh man, it's got to keep going back. So you trying to tell us at the vault that you want your standard of living to go backwards? Because that's what's going to happen if it goes backwards. It's not going to go backwards. Who's this audience that's going to start all of a sudden spending more money than the Americans? The African indigenous descent people spend over $1 trillion a year in consumable goods, in lifestyle and culture, right now to date. So trillions of dollars, billions of dollars is being spent on commercial enterprise. And the States is wanting to bring some companies home and literally have companies operate out of here. And ladies and gentlemen, the United States is considered to be like Hawaii of the world. If you all know about Hawaii, Hawaii is like a really quaint, beautiful place, and it's basically like that. A lot of people want a vacation in the States. A lot of countries want a vacation in the States. You see these people increasingly come over to the States all the time. Some people say, oh, you want to go to Dubai? Well, that's because you live in the States. But people have been to Dubai because it's like going to another state in other parts of the world. And so we know quite a few people want to do that, and we respect that. And that's what it's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, charity is a business because that's when you go on site visits and private family retreats. That's what you do. You go to see the land. Everything's for your family. You got to tie this into your bloodline. Why? Because that's how wealth is passed on properly. Because if it's not, here we go with somebody giving you the property, and now what's going on? You upset that you're not even, it's what happens if it's tied up for two different generations? Property doesn't just come straight to you because you think it comes through the court. Oh man, it's going to come to the court through me clean title. Sure it is. What happens when it does come to you clean title? Are you capitalizing off it? See, it's called capital once again. Are you in control of capital? What's capital? Human capital. They say they're away from slavery. Slavery is not always considered human capital, but some people are okay with a job. So then we get on to people that are going to create capital out of thin air. Literally, that's what they do. They think about capital. They think about a talent or ability. They kind of like wave their hand in the air and then they do something for a period of time. It's not like you don't have to do something for a period of time. And then they end up making it turn into a profitable capital expenditure. Really? What type of capital? Human capital. See, it's human capital and financial capital. So we're okay with expending some human capital. Why? Because you want the paper capital. That's what you want, right? So how do you get that? You have to expend energy. It's just energy. And charity is energy. It's a passion. See how I came back full circle? It's a passion. That's what we want to let you all know. It's about your passions. So many people, they think, oh man, this is the hardest thing to do. Sure, how was it? People got a high school diploma. Like, how much worth was it if you're not a millionaire? See, we can talk to you straight because that's what it's about. It's not about that? Oh no, it's not about that. Well, cool. Hop off. We're talking to the other ones now that are ready to keep moving forward with the message of, ladies and gentlemen, it's assets under management. You're honoring the family's last name when they give you assets under management, whether it's the property properly or, gold, silver, diamonds, pearls, collectible cars, collectible art, all of these different things. Those are the things that you think about. But some people don't get past those assets. But charity is an asset, and you know it's an asset. It doesn't have to be a church. So, what is it then? Charity is a business. And it should be conducted with the secretary. It should be conducted with a treasurer. You should have a board. See, no one wants to tell you that they got board members. You think guys don't have guys going to get coffee for them, going to get donuts for them? That's what they're called, assistants, executive assistants, or people that are maids and people like that. Those are people that go and get those things for a good reason. That's where the bubble's at right now. We see the first trillionaires walking into the world publicly. We do see that. The trillion-dollar companies are walking into the public, publicly, and that's interesting because it's like, how much of the public debt do they actually own? Then, if that's the case, because they are holding, citizens' money as shareholders. What would that be like? That is really interesting to see right there. Um, This we just want to say, charity is a business. Bottom line, and we see people making it a point to live their lives in charity. It's a simple thing. It's nothing more than that. Most people that listen to the vault, they're gonna make it a point to keep it simple. They understand that. If you've been listening to a continuous basis, definitely are aware of that. The vault is charity, ladies and gentlemen. Think about it. Who in the public is talking about making sure you're in private family trusteeship with your family if you can, if it's a possibility, And if you can, then you're gonna be good because Over even in that environment, there is mentorship, there is teamwork. These are the strategies of not just winning war, but business. These are strategies, ladies and gentlemen. These are not, oh, we're going to forget about the principles. People say, oh, I don't follow man, I follow principles. That's exactly right. You don't follow man, you follow principles. There's principles to the game every time. Football players aren't playing against basketball players, and basketball players aren't playing against football players. You have different subjects and degrees of knowledge for a reason. So once again, charity is a business. Why? Because it's a degree of knowledge. It's not, oh, we're not doing business. Why wouldn't you be? You're expending human capital. Human capital deserves a reward. Right now, one of the major rewards is that almighty $green bill. It's that almighty. And if you're not getting that almighty, you might not make it. That's the facts. You might not make it. Why? Because it's one of those things, it's in our thoughts. It's in our thoughts when we're asleep. It's in our thoughts when we're awake. That's where it's at. It's business. You're thinking about taking care of your family. You might be thinking about a couple generations, but you got a time and a place for that. You got a time and a place for those thoughts, for that human capital expenditure. Because some people that are generating capital and wealth through what people call working, using their body and mind, physically or mentally, that's what's going on. They're expending real energy. They got to buy food for themselves. Oh, really? Yeah, they got to buy food for themselves. They're buying food for themselves. Oh, man, money's not real. So why are you working for it? See, we know. It's business, not personal. We're in a commercial environment, ladies and gentlemen. All you got to do is take over your industries of interest, your passions. Oh, it was that simple? Yeah, that's how you create multicultural capitalism across the board. It's not perfect, but it's a system of trade and commerce. And the system has beat up other systems in a short period of time. They're standing the test of time. People say, oh, they're not standing the test of time. Sure. Saying that America's not going to make it is like saying you're not going to make it. That's a fact. Saying America's not going to make it is like saying you're not going to make it. And guess what? No elite is saying that America's not going to make it. They're going to make sure that there's a street or a highway or a cleaning company that's cleaning up the streets in the major city. They're going to make sure of that. Charity is a business. But I didn't know I could set my family name up in perpetuity. Once again, what's perpetuity? Forever. Oh, wow. So you can have it at a college? Yep. You can have it on a library? Yep. Think about it, the library system's really just getting started in the States. It's less than 100 years old. As far as like when we talk about the States, like there's a lot of public libraries, but they really didn't get introduced until like there was an explosion and it came after the 50s. Came after the 1950s, where you see a lot of people started putting money into libraries because libraries is how you perpetuate wealth. People need to read. So it's actually a quality environment for people to, when you go into your library, go look at the endowment wall. They usually have an endowment wall at the library. So many people, though, they don't want to enroll in the system. Those are the hard heads. What about the soft heads? They got to deal with their friends and family talking to them for 1 years, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, 15 years, 16 years. You want to go on? Why? Because they haven't fulfilled the obligations to themselves completely. 99% efficiency is better than 40% efficiency. So since we're in that era of correcting our errors, it's time to correct our errors. And the way you correct your errors is by tracking them. You think Babe Ruth didn't know how many L's he took? Yes, they're called strikeouts. When you step up to the plate, you take a strikeout if you don't hit the ball and get on base, or you get balled up where you get to go to the bases because you got 4 balls on you. Now, you all can infer and read into that by going and checking out baseball if you don't know the rules for baseball. But baseball is a game you play, and if you get 4, what they call balls, Not all of us have four balls, but everybody gets four balls in baseball. And so you get four balls in baseball, and that's the bottom line for you to go to a base. So you go to first base if you get four balls in the course of not getting struck out. So charity is a business. How many times do you track your errors? How many times do you track your errors? Writing them down. The edge goes to the people that are on the edge. We understand the message is very siloed. Why? Because, ladies and gentlemen, the ladies and gentlemen that are actually going to do what we're talking about, all they're doing is just tracking and taking action every single day. That's all they're doing. And so, are you doing that? If you can honestly admit and say that you're not, ladies and gentlemen, the vault has to live that. It's an accountability issue with yourself. It is you putting yourself under the sun. You're on the planet Earth. How are you not taking total 100% responsibility? And so we are talking to everyone that is always aspiring to that level, because that is the environment that we play in, where people are taking that level of responsibility, where you take the highest level of risk. Oh, wow. What type of risk are we taking? Well, we actually have calculations for different types of risk. It's not all the same type of risk. Risk is subjective. Some people are risking a lot more in certain situations. Risk is subjective, ladies and gentlemen. That's why nobody's can sit at the table and say, oh, my 60% is your 40%. It's like, right. Those are arbitrary numbers, like your memory. Your memory you cannot see. So the odds and the risk is always different for everybody. The odds. It's all about the language, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we talk about in trustee training, the language. I don't know about that, Rick. Appreciate you for tuning in live, because we definitely, that's something that, you got to kind of. Greetings, Charles. Definitely appreciate you all for tuning in live. Quite a few people listening live. Hey, at the end of the day, it's all about making sure you're in that proper position when it comes to that charity. Doing business charitable nowadays, that's all you got to do. Start living for your family name, and you'll be all right. A lot of times, a lot of people are just, they're dibbling dabbling in the place of called mediocrity, as our mentors would call it. They would call it mediocrity. It means you're the best of the worst and the worst of the best. And these are the type of things they would say to us, and we want to impart those messages upon you, because we understand that you're worthy of your goals and your dreams as well. And there has to be a level of positivity in the business market right now, specifically in all markets across the board. Because when people say, oh, the markets aren't booming right now, ladies and gentlemen, we can definitely tell you there are people that are selling 2 and 3 houses a week in Atlanta right now. We've heard from these investors and real estate investors. We really have heard from them. Like, people are buying, and it's like, that is crazy. Like, and people are buying in South Florida right now. People are buying. They're moving from, northern states. They're moving from. I mean, this is one of those things where you saw some of the older G's kind of like literally call this shot real quick. And there's a few older G's that actually like called this shot real quick and say, hey, these are some of the markets that people are going to be going into and investing into, and you got to be paying attention and have your capital in position. And so this is where people say, oh, what is lacking from you getting in real estate? Oh, it's financial capital. Is it really financial capital, or is it human capital? Have you not been working hard for the financial capital? So we're talking about right now, let's start in right now and making sure that we are using the human capital to make sure that the financial capital takes care of the human capital. Because if you're taking care of the financial capital, then the financial capital should take care of you. And we know this. Why? Because it's a gift from us. It's a thought from our mind. Oh, I remember just years ago, I was like, man, your thoughts are money. Like, your ideas are money. That's what they are. They've always been that. And it's so awesome to know that that's what they are. Your ideas, things that you think about. You have to think of something every single day. So many people say, oh man, you got to train people to think. That's what we've been asking our mentors recently. You got to train people to think. Some people would say yes. So if that's the case, who's training you? Or do you have the training wheels on? Following the leader. There is no follow the leader. There's lead thyself. Some people say, oh, you have to have a leader, you have to have a follower. Those are terms, once again, we can even put right back in the law. We can put it right back outside of nature. There has to be. We understand these terms, but no, it doesn't have to be. So here we are now. People are slacking. That's what the mentors, if they had a Irish Gael to themselves, they would be like, they're slacking. That's what they're doing. They're slacking. Oh man, you talk to them, they're slacking, lacking, chilling. Oh no, what do you mean? The hardcore people are doing it? Only the hardcore people? Ladies and gentlemen, do you hear the statistics? They say only 2% of the people are financially independent by the time they're 65. Oh, really? Wow. What about the other 98%? What did they do? See, a younger sibling of mine had this speech told to them at their graduation for college umpteen years ago. You want to know why? Because it's a system of failure. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, it's not? Ladies and gentlemen, people don't want to believe in prodigies because some people don't want to think that there's someone smarter than them. But there are people that are smarter than you. That's just being honest. They have this gift that they're more in tune with the spiritual power at that particular time in their life. That's what they call spiritually gifted. So, spiritually gifted, right? How much are we looking into what we need to do to be spiritually gifted? Are we using our spiritual gifts? That's charity. Isn't the spiritual supposed to be tax free? Huh? It is. When you're using your body like an NFL player, it's pretty taxing on the body, right? So the family gets think about it. These players, these Goliaths, get these statues built after them, like the Roman times. When in Rome, do as Romans do. And what are people doing? Going to the Colosseums, paying to, you know what happens there. They get statues built after them. They get cities named after them. Really? They're building the same system here? Wow, it's called a thought process. They had a thought process. So, of course, we had it first, African indigenous descent. We had our leagues, and then, those leagues are gone now. Now they're in the NBA and the NFL, and these guys are enjoying their lives, and more power to you guys. But some of us, they own their last name. You know how these guys have their names on the back of a jersey and they don't receive supposedly money from the jersey? Is that true? I mean, how is it that you can play for a team and they own your last name? And it's interesting because there are people that decline to have their last name on the game. Like there are people that are just like, just use my number. And none of these guys have gotten that yet. Or maybe some of these guys have gotten that. No disrespect to any. Just speaking in terms of we've heard that the NCAA was trying to get sued once again from the players that, these guys want to, basically say, hey, we're going to sue you guys because you guys aren't, giving us royalties and we're doing more than just going to school. It's like, wow, you can see these guys don't even understand amateur sports. And amateur sports, you're not supposed to get paid. How do you think they're under that classification right now? They're amateur sports. Oh man, but they're collecting a lot of money. Through what? The sponsorships. They're getting rich through the sponsorships. Oh no, it can't be that simple, Trust Christian. I gotta call Nike for my family foundation. I gotta call Adidas. I gotta call Puma. How is it that the rappers that are leading the way in the sponsorships right now, the hip hop artists, are leading the way in sponsorships? They're getting sponsors from Nautica, Target. They're getting it from major, anything, whether it's watches, whether it's clothing. Why? We're not talking about every genre of music, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not get that confused. Let's keep it here where it is in 2020. The leading music industry in the world is hip hop. Leading industry in gross revenue. They have they have over 1 billion listeners for sure. And there's 7 billion people on the planet. And they have over 1 billion listeners, ladies and gentlemen. And so, what happened? Do you own the culture, though? Do you own the culture? You all know what the culture is. We don't need to share our trade secrets. That's called a trade secret. See, when you're in business, you don't share everything you do. It's called a trade secret. That's the difference between savvy business people and people that are out here saying, oh, I got a business degree, but I don't know how to run a business. Ladies and gentlemen, we've seen people go to college, they work for the government, they still don't own a business. How are you a good business person and you don't own a business? Oh, wow, it's about how well you are of a money manager. Well, at least we know that the entrepreneurs and investors are willing to take the first risk, which is on themselves. Now, now we're going to lead from self to going out and helping others. Because, see, entrepreneurs and investors, they create jobs. Employees have one. Once again, it's trusteeship, it's stewardship, it's family trusteeship, bottom line. And we know what that means. You have to make sacrifices for the family name at all times. Some people don't believe in names. That's fine. We're talking to the group of people that are. This is not just intended to be motivational. It's a message to a group of people that sometimes need to hear a voice of reason, a voice of thought, a voice of execution. Because that's what it's all about. Don't think we've gotten away from execution. We're here still on execution. Bottom line, we're here on what tasks are being recorded and completed. Bottom line, that's what it's about. It's about execution. And so many of us, we know about execution at periods in our life. And this is one of those periods where, once again, we can say this to the group that listens to the vote. What are you going to say to your grandchildren, your great grandchildren? What are they even going to say about you in 3 to 4 generations when the greatest wealth transfer was taking place? The roaring 20s. They went for another 100 years. Steam engine. Steam engine. They took 60% out by the time they got to 65. No. Yeah, 65 of them, 65% of them, by the time they reach 65, they're dead. That's just the stats in the States. Why? They didn't make it. Bad health. And they're trying to chalk it up to these different, reasonings for that. So 65, they didn't make it up to there. Okay. You got another 30 though. Almost. You got like 20 something. So let's get to the next. We'll just do the 20. Remember, it's the 80-20 rule. But 60% didn't make it alive. The next 20, that's the 80. So remember, 80-20. So the other portion of those people, they were dependent on a family member. They were dependent on some type of charity. Hold on. A charity? What do you mean? It's like an assisted living home. Oh no. The billionaires are getting rich off assisted living homes across the board and small houses and apartments and condos. They're doing it like that. Wait, you want to hear that the billionaires got like 1,000 houses like they had Bitcoin? They had 1,000 Bitcoin when it went to 20,000. 1,000 was nothing. We saw these guys have more than that. 20,000 Bitcoin. Oh, some of those guys, they're walking in there. Oh man, I got 150,000. I got 150,000 Bitcoin. I'm like, okay, that's a good number right there. That's a great number. I mean, this is when it was 12,000. It's like, okay, this guy's really might be holding them. And then you start hearing these guys. Oh, I got 50,000 Bitcoin. Wow, 50,000, 50,000 in 2000 and we'll say that's you can say that's 17 or 18 whenever it struck its deal up. When it went to, to like last time it was up to about like 12 to 13. Cats were scratching their faces. They were like, "Wow, this is something that has just literally blossomed." Some people were riding from like 700, some people were riding from 1700, but for it to get up to 17,000, these guys immediately got out. All of these guys got out. It was a super fear panic move because the way that it was like if you knew how the elders were probably sitting at that price, but how could you have predicted such a price? They must have literally knew about this technology years in advance. Like you literally have a position on for a year. You might have it like just waiting, that idea, just waiting to get in that on, and that's on your watch list. That's really where it's at. It's on your watch list, and you're like, man, when this time comes, we're selling, and some people get in and just get the asset. You see so many people go in and get assets, and they're doing that from even a charitable position. So when you see that, you're like, wow, there's asset managers of colleges. Yes, there's asset managers of Sometimes they use the banks. We sat in a meeting this past week where someone said something silly. See, ladies and gentlemen, we're not afraid to expose the silliness just as much we're not afraid to tell the truth. See, we could tell the truth, but some people want to hear, oh, what does failure sound like? We'll tell you. That's just the bottom line. We don't like telling people what failure looks like, but to not know that the trust is a trustee over your funds and when it's in the bank, that's not good. You just expose your ignorance. Now you're sitting in a room with someone that possibly is a banker and they're going to eat you alive. They're going to give you all types of financial terms and interest and you don't know what they're talking about. And if you don't know what they're talking about, guess what's going to happen? Probably not going to know what they're doing that's good or bad. So now you have to have someone else look at the contract. Lawyer, accountant, whoever, friend, foe, whoever. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about being in that trustee position. So, yes, charity is a business. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat. You can always feel free to let us know where you're listening from. It's so interesting to see people ask questions about their own family trust. Peace out and shout out to Orlando. Orlando's booming right now. Orlando's definitely booming right now. They've been on highway construction for like what? You can scratch your head and say years up there. These guys have been on highway construction, building new highways up there for years now. Orlando's booming. That's where Disneyland is at or whatever it is. Disneyland, Disney World, whatever. That's where it's at. So, ladies and gentlemen, these markets they're trying to get people back oriented and coming into that environment. They already have people going. They just see that there's the part of the 65 they might be dying. The part of the other 20 or that's exactly part of the other 20. Do you see there what they're doing? They're applying for funds, and then you see, you got 20. That's still a lot. We could go as far as 25, 27, and there's really like less than 3%. It really is that are pushing and striving for better, that are tracking their habits. Something so simple as tracking your habits. It's one of the highest level of disciplines a person can have. And why don't people do it? Because they haven't been programmed to do it. They haven't been trained to do it. But when you train to track your habits, you become a self-sufficient individual, a self-reliant individual. You can solve your problems. See, a lot of people, they're not going to be able to solve their own problems, but they can help others solve their problems. That's when you become of service to other people and you generate wealth off of that. You generate wealth off of servicing other people by you solving others' problems. Some people say, oh man, I can solve other people's problems, but I'm not able to solve mine. So if you can do that, then do that. Solve others' problems and others will help you solve your problem. See, it's built into the universe for you to succeed. But oh no, I got this negative programming, Trust Christian. Ladies and gentlemen, we're fully aware of that. That's why the Vault has Trustee Training, because you get reprogrammed, you get trained. It's Trustee Training. We understand that that's what it is. When you're in Trustee Training, you know that, okay, what did they say? So we create charities from our trust. Ladies and gentlemen, what is a charitable remainder trust? You can look into that. So many people look into these things. We're not recommending it. Oh no, definitely not recommending it. That's public. You're listening to Trustee Training on the private. That's what we do. Like we said, we had a buddy, there's a trustee actually, come through and say, oh yeah, you could get PPE money for the private foundation, man. I was like, oh man, this guy really just said that. I'm like, you on a website over there, man? It's like, you just see these type of things. It's like, wow, there's capital out there for people that are building YMCA's and these different type of like Boys and Girls Club and charities and things like that, like libraries. These are people that are building like real things out here, ladies and gentlemen, for people to have a place to go and work out and have a subsidized membership for health. But you got to do it the proper way. People say, oh, how come that education in place? We're going to end with this because this is all this matter. Because this is the lowest invested environment in the African indigenous descent environment, which is education. No one should be bragging about another culture giving your culture money. Oh, man, we got another culture to give us more money than we willing to give ourselves. Baloney. So let's talk about it. The lowest level of investment in African indigenous descent environment is education, and that is a dire need from all the problem solvers to learn how to put themselves in a position where they can give to the educational environment and in the proper capacity. What are you going to say? We're in a system where you have to earn something right now. Bottom line, period. There's an earning. So since there's an earning, there is no system that we're trying to create that's anti-earning. That's the first thing. We're not creating any system that's anti-earning. If you're doing that, of course you're going to put yourself in a position where you're not earning. Because this is an earn world. You have to earn everything. And that means tracking your tasks every day. So when people ask questions about, oh, what should I be doing in the trust right now? What should I be doing? Should I be creating charities? Should the family be creating charities? What do you mean? Like, think for yourself. You don't need Trust Christian to answer that. It's a question and answer for something that says, hey man, this is a situation, a real situation. That's as basic as asking, hey man, do I need to invest in gold or silver? We already had an episode. You don't invest. It's a savings. So you already don't have the right mindset for private. And if you're new, now you here. Bottom line, you here. Because the truth shall set you free. Bottom line, the truth will set you free. How can the truth set you free? It's about knowledge. You have to have the proper knowledge. Think about it. Did you get taught this? Did you get taught the private trusteeship in public school? We know the truth. We don't need to sit here and belabor the thought. What we're saying at this point is charity is a business because it's business, not personal. Always has been, always will be. When Dr. Dre recently gave with Jimmy Iovine to USC or UCal, it was UCal or USC. They gave some money where they gave about $70 million where they gave it away in their foundations. And they created a school based off of that. So just because you don't hear about these things happening, people making money giving away, they're happening every single day where people create their legacy in perpetuity. They have their name at the college now. Are you next? All right. Some people not going to be next. They're going to let these guys outwork them. You think they told you go from zero to hero. They told you that. They told all of us that. Because all of us tell each other that. You go from zero to hero. Some don't. No, some people are given a handout. That's fine. We're talking about some people that were given a silver spoon. Some people were given a silver spoon. They were given a leg up. We were joking about, this is where we can go with the vote. What happens when you have insurance on yourself and your net worth now is what your insurance policy is? So your insurance policy is worth $500,000. Your insurance policy is worth $1 million. You think about it. You're worth what you say you're worth on paper now because it's dead or alive. Oh wow, did we crack a code? Ladies and gentlemen, insurance been around for over 300 to 500 years. Like, this is Lloyd's of London status business, ladies and gentlemen. This is Bank of Mellon. These are banks now. You have to have a private family bank. We talk about that in trustee training. But oh no, people are evading the process. They're literally trying to say, oh man, we don't want to do this, man. We're going to just sit back here and keep listening. We'll keep listening. And just know that assets under management are set to increase. Always. It's about assets under management, ladies and gentlemen. How much are you going to bring to the table for your family? And hold it in a proper position. It's a call to arms. Not everybody's going to make it. Why? Because they didn't want to track their habits. You got to track your habits. That's where it's business, not personal. Some people are actually going to get this and they're going to stick with this and they're going to do this for about a good solid 20, 30 days. And they're going to see if they can make the 30-day rule. We encourage you all to make the 29.5-day rule. Make the 30-day rule. Do the 30-day rule. Say, okay, from this day, I'm going to go straight every day, planning out my day, doing 9 things a day, and doing those things every single day. Okay? And so that's what you do. And there's going to be quite a few. We know that there's going to be quite a few African indigenous descent women that are going to get on it. We know our culture. We know they just going to get on it. And they're going to take hold of that. Why? Because it's easy for people that put a list together with women that usually have children. For all the mothers for the most part are going to have an easier time if they're being a quality of, obviously mom, we're going to say that other level mom that actually has a list for people in the house to actually do something. She has a list for you all to do something. Just like you have a list of chores at your house or whatever. It was that simple. A list. was made for people. And so charity is a business. It's just like the family business. You're keeping the house clean. Bottom line. We already know that, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to it, it's about you saying, I'm going to take control. Let go of ownership. And so many people haven't let go of ownership mentally. It's one of those things that, what do you mean, Charles Christian? Literally, it's just one word. But how many people are going to let it go? Guess what? 60% aren't going to make it. The other 20%, they're going to depend on thinking they can play the middle ground. Those are the celebrities. Those are your actors. Those are your NBA football players. Most of them, they don't even make it. Ladies and gentlemen, stats are already out. Football hasn't been around 2 generations in the States. Really, it's been around like 2, but not like 3 or 4. Like, you can see wealth drop off after the second generation. It does. It's a truth. It's an 80% failure rate, even on the drop off on the private side for second generation wealth. You all can look up these wealth stats and see how many families are carrying wealth from the second to the third generation. Why? You shouldn't even be saying you don't even want your children not to carry your wealth. How many people contact the vault and don't want their children to carry their wealth? They want to give it to their grandchildren. Oh, you thought you were slick, baby boomers. It doesn't work that way. You can't skip a generation of education. They thought they were slick. Oh, I want to give it to my grandkids. Why? Because you raised a sorry child? No. It's teamwork make the dream work. Bottom line. But oh, what if my family's not on the same page? Now you see how it's interesting that you have to build a system. You. Oh, really? Not everybody? No, not everybody. You. It's a system. It's a goal achieving system. That's a tracking system. You can't. How can you achieve a goal if you don't have a goal? You have to have a goal to achieve a goal. Every single day. 9 things, by the way. 29 half in the days. 29 and a half days in a row. That's what you're going to do. You're going to test yourself and do that 2 to 3 times. And you'll see whatever goal you usually have planned, you can make it with. Those are basic codes. You know, people should be manifesting a lot faster than that. But a lot of people sometimes need the middle ground to get started. So they got to use the moon as a jump to start moving forward with their goals at light speed. Think about it. Most people are you moving at light speed, ladies and gentlemen? Ladies and gentlemen, we heard a senior mentor say he's operating on atomic time. He wears 2 watches. Matter of fact, y'all want to know who he is? It's Chris Gardner. Chris Gardner from The Pursuit of Happiness, a black superhero. Chris Gardner is an excellent mentor for going into the financial markets. Oh, wow, he's in the financial market? Hold on. We're not describing a rapper? No, we're not doing that. We're not describing an athlete? Oh, no, we're not doing that. No, we're describing a financial powerhouse. The one that Will Smith played, everybody's favorite rapper's rapper. I mean, he's the favorite actor's actor. So he's the favorite actor's actor. And what did he do? He played The Pursuit of Happiness, Chris Gardner. Those are one of those serious movies right there. If you haven't watched The Pursuit of Happiness, excellent movie for just, it could make you cry. So be ready. It's one of those movies. It's a teardropper. You're like, man, this guy's risking. He's homeless. Have you been homeless? No. We always shout out the people that have been homeless because there's a lot of people that are successful that were homeless. It's like, yeah, we got to give props where props are due. So we're not going to lie about the whole homeless deal. Like, if you have been, it's like, wow, okay. They made it. Especially if they're living in a mansion. Ooh, they're living in a mansion. Yes, there are a lot of homeless people that are living in a mansion. Not to say all of them are, but there's some, remember, 80-20, right? So it's about 3% of them, they living in a mansion. They went from the dirt poor to living in a mansion. So, bottom line, you have the opportunity. We told you, we're in the roaring 20s right now. It's been roaring 20s since February when the market started going south after, what's that day? After Valentine's Day. The love affair is over, they said, right? Oh, the love affair is over. How does the love affair go over? What did it do? Did it drop half? Did it drop half away down? How many people know the percentage of how much the market dropped? So how do you know it was or was not anything? But guess what? We see what they call leading indicators, not lagging indicators. See, when you're in the financial markets, you have to predict the future. That's what these guys are doing when they're telling you what stocks to pick on these stock websites, right? These analysts, right? That's what they are, analysts. Now, are you able to analyze the data? That's why on, what is this, August 24th, Cornell the Trader. He's going to be doing a webinar once again. This is the last time this year. We got to shout out that brother. He actually called. He's a trustee, and it's just, he's such a powerful guy. You know, if you knew when you meet somebody and they don't need you, it's always one of those type of people. And I mean, this guy, he said something a long time ago. He said, if you learn how to trade, you'll never need anybody for money ever again. And it's such an independent, empowering position because you see that that's what it's all about. But empowering others around you is so powerful. And so we're just excited to see that that's what it's done. You know, we see people like, hey, man, I'm not going back to work for anybody. And they're like, wow. They're taking hold of their family name. Oh, man, do I give up my original name? That's what some people want to ask. Ladies and gentlemen, think for yourself is what we'll say. Because now you're in a true wilderness. And you have to stay warm some nights. It might be cold in your region. So you may have to learn how to keep it warm inside a shelter. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're sure we touched on a lot. We always want to just give and give and give. That's what it's all about. Because we've gotten back to the good old days of just giving. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what's the point of holding back on you? If you're going to win, you're going to win. You're going to win with or without the vote. See, that's the question some people still might be asking themselves. But if you're not, then we right here to let you know, yes, charity is a business. Make sure that you either get a consultation with the vault or you move forward with making sure, okay, I am thinking like the NFL with NBA owners. These guys they don't pay taxes. Why would they? They're a charity. Bottom line. And we see that. They understand stewardship, trusteeship. Bottom line, the hockey, all of them, they say they're associations, right? And you guys can see this, ladies and gentlemen, like it's in front of your face, but it's for the winners now. The winners to make sure that they can do it on their own grassroots level. Like it's no different. You gotta give these guys some type of competition. Don't let these guys become a monopoly now. Ooh, they don't want to hear that. Why? Because a lot of them believe competition is sin. Ooh. On the private side, sometimes they believe competition is sin. Ooh. Ooh, no one wants to talk about competition. No competition. You hear when you ask people sometimes, you're like, so are you competitive? They'll be like, I don't believe in competition. Oh, really? That's what they say on the private side. The ones that say competition is sin. That's how it sounds. Oh, I don't believe in competition. They're lying to you. They do believe in competition. They're more competitive than you'll ever think they are. Think about it. In competitive sports, because that's what they call it, it's competitive. So what's the difference between the owners that are actually owning the competitive sports? They're competitive. They want to see their team beat another team. It's ownership. It's control. You all know this. Let's get with it. Let's get busy. Yes, you have to own the industry. The shoes on your feet. Oh wow, somebody wanted to do shoes. How many times people gonna do shoes? I guess that's like you gotta have a new pair of socks on every day. You gotta have a new pair of shoes. Sure. But what happens to the everyday essentials? The real estate. Supposedly, the African indigenous descent don't even own more than 5% or 2% of the land in the United States. But they're generating massive amounts of wealth. Wealth is going straight through their hands. It's going through their hands. Like they're the ones that they're literally making money off their thoughts. But how is the money not staying in their hands? How is it not staying in their hands? It's called programming, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it is. It's business, not personal. Remember? It's the paper, capital, financial capital, right? And it's going through their hands. But what about the human capital? It's going through their culture. They got to do human capital to even get paper capital. And they do. And they spend it. And there are other cultures that spend too. But we like to talk about them because they're actually the most economically powerful in the United States. Bottom line. They're creating the trends. They have billions of people outside of the United States that care about them. Wow. They have billions of people outside of the country that are literally like buying their product, buying their CDs, buying their music. They're buying their music, the hip hop culture, the urban, what they call them, the black hip hop culture. They came from where they came from and people supported them. That's what's holding up the culture. The entertainers are. It's business, not personal though. You think these guys aren't holding these studios and their charities? Why not? Why not let the church come in here and record for free? Are we done or are we done? Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. No, not for real estate. This is so funny. We don't offer a real estate program at the Vault. Some people ask these questions publicly. It's like interesting to see. It's like, our real estate course. We said trustee training, and then, you have people just ask odd questions. So, but real estate is always, I guess, part of that charitable environment. I mean, most charities are still holding real estate. I mean, a church usually tries to own the land that they're on. So, the church would own it. Who else is going to have the mortgage? It's not the pastor. Then they think like, oh, he's trying to steal the property. So, just people holding it in a proper position, honestly. Whatever it is, and so yeah, there we go. But we appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening to replay. Once again, wanted to give a quality dissertation on what really is important when it comes to having a conversation with some, powers that be, whoever you deal with, about it being a business and caring about your life that way. Maybe we found the Holy Grail very early. We guess early 30s, 20s is a great time to discover the Holy Grail. And once you discover the Holy Grail, you kind of just have to move in fashion. You move in that fashion where you're studying, on a daily basis. You've taken pretty much when people call complete control, let go of ownership, and you're just focused on growing that family from that position. It was so funny talking to a trustee earlier today saying just you think about when you're in the private for so long, you don't even think about making money anymore. Like why? Because you got other trustees that are calling you and they're still working jobs and they're laughing about money coming to them. So it's like okay, cool. You see people now that they're in a true quality position where they're not out here scratching and clawing for money. They're literally sitting in the house, they're sitting in the goddamn blankie, making money, sitting in their beds making money, and so in turn you see that they're still spending money for sure, and business is just getting done across the board, ladies and gentlemen. And so it's just up to people to put themselves in a position where they are tracking themselves. They're getting serious. The vault may come out with an accountability system, so you all can see that, but it comes down to you having that for yourself. And we're going to go in with the trustees because it's rather important to talk to trustees. They understand, they're in trustee training, and they always want to know, what are some of the best practices that Trust Christian has, and having goals every single day, having a list of things that you do every single day as a trustees. That's what people come to trustee training for. They say, how do I build my family wealth over to the second generation? And you learn these habits. You say, okay, I'll learn how to put in these systems of having 9 things to do every single day and doing those things. That is a system of high accountability because it's a basic number. It's not a lot, it's just a number. It's a random number, and then when you're consistent with that, you build from there. But we see that there's sometimes maybe a lag. It's a slack and lacking. Why? Because it calls for a high level of accountability, and whether you know it or not, every great athlete knows that that's what's true. And that's why they're playing for charity. Ha ha ha. Appreciate you all for tuning in live, listen, replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian at Trust Christian. Appreciate you all.